What I don't understand is how is it that on the 2001 NAEP history exam, 52% of high school seniors chose Nazi Germany, Imperial Japan, or Fascist Italy as our ally, not the Soviet Union.
Hi, I'm Nick Gillespie with ReasonTV. I'm here today with Mark Bauerlein, author of The Dumbest Generation, a provocative new book that says the digital age stupefies young Americans and jeopardizes our future. In fact, there's even a second subtitle which says, Don't Trust Anyone Under 30. Mark, what's the premise of the book?
Digital culture means this to most teenagers. It doesn't open them up to the great big world of ideas and artworks and documents and politics and foreign affairs, which is all out there on the internet. The potential is there. Instead, it gives them what teenagers really care about, other teenagers, access to one another. They're not going to the Smithsonian Institution website. When Nielsen ratings examine the most popular websites for young adults, 9 out of the top 10, teenagers, 9 out of the top 10 were for social networking. 55% of high school students spend less than 1 hour a week reading and studying for class. They spend 9 hours a week social networking. And this is what brought me into this work. Studies of leisure habits by young adults. And one thing we can say is that the leisure reading people do, young people do, the visits to museums that they do, the library visits that they do, those have gone down. And that's just natural because the menu of leisure options for teenagers and young adults has gotten bigger. Reading has a smaller portion on the menu that they have. And when you go into the average 15-year-old's bedroom now, it's a multimedia center. Yeah, there are a few books up there on the shelf. There's the laptop, the cell phone, video game console, BlackBerry, iPod, and all those diversions give them something a lot more compelling than the story of Antony and Cleopatra and Caesar. PBS was running a film festival. I never watch movies, but I was stuck with these. It was a foreign film festival, and they showed all the classics of Fellini and Fritz Lang and Charlie Chaplin and Orson Welles, and actually mostly foreign films. And I just got into it and saw, I don't understand all of this, but something about a lot of these images, it just sort of opened my mind a little bit. If I could go back to Maryland today and I was that age, I could always get online and hang out with my friends, or I could get on the cell phone and call people, or go to teen blogs about my high school. And I could have remained stuck in an adolescent world. And the adult world seems like on the other side.
But don't you feel that it's more likely that more kids will have an experience similar to yours? Because if you're roaming around on the internet, it's virtually impossible, or even on Netflix, it might be a mistake that you ordered the wrong movie and suddenly you get La Ventura, where in that vignette you talked about the rules of the game, the atrociously overrated Renoir movie, right? But I mean, it just seems to me that the possibility of this stuff being thrown in their path is probably higher now, just because there's so much more of it out there and available.
Well, I think that with the big universe of the internet, it's an empowerment tool. It lets people go where they're already interested. It's disposed to them. And the teen ego is a really powerful, strong thing, especially the collective teen ego. And I'm not sure that if these things do happen by chance, that they stick with it. That's why the mentors in young people's lives are so important.
Yeah, and talk a little bit about that. I mean, who's to blame here? Or what are the forces that are making this, what you're talking about, what are the forces behind that? And part of it certainly is the mentor, the gatekeeper class, right? I mean, these are Dr. Zaius's from Planet of the Apes who have lost their inner faith, right?
It's something that I think I blame more than anyone else. I blame my colleagues, the humanities professors, who passed along an irreverence toward historical knowledge and literary understanding and civic understanding. They don't give students the conviction, if you don't read these books, you're not going to be a complete citizen, you're not going to be a complete individual. I think that too many of them want to be relevant. They don't want to be old fogies and fuddy-duddies and reactionaries and retrograde conservatives. They worry about, again, being on the other side of their students' world. And students need to learn, when you're 18 years old, your friends aren't going to make you build your vocabulary. Your friends aren't going to make you respect the Venetian Republic of the late Renaissance, early Renaissance. You need to have someone come into your life and tell you, look, there's a great big world out there, and you've got to pull yourself out of the little tiny social world that you're in. And mentors have to be the ones to do that. And I think students want their teachers to do that a lot more. You know, they want their teachers to rebuke them for their adolescent diversions. I tell students in class all the time, you guys are lazy and ignorant. And don't tell me how busy you are. You're always talking about how busy you are. You watch 2 hours and 41 minutes of TV a day. And those are the latest ratings. And it's like you're the CEO of General Motors. You leave class, you flip open that cell phone to check in and see what's going on in your important lives. Or you got to run into the library and check your Facebook page to see what's happening. You know, there are more important things to do. I don't think inspiration is a good motivation to vote for civic activity. One, you know, inspiring politicians come and go. And inspiration also, it's so much about you, how you feel, how this politician appeals to your needs. That's not a good basis for citizenship. You need to feel more, it's not about your emotional response, it's about your responsibility to guard your prerogatives. You got to look at the First Amendment real seriously, and you got to regard your leaders not just as figures of inspiration, but also figures of danger too. They are in power, and people in government over time are going to do what human beings naturally do, and that is sustain their power, expand it, and you've got to be a political player to limit them.
I want to thank Mark Bauerlein, author of The Dumbest Generation, for coming and talking to ReasonTV. For ReasonTV, I'm Nick Gillespie.